You are listening to the ForceCom Frontline, bringing you to our soldiers on the front lines of readiness. Hey everyone, welcome to the ForceCom Frontline. I'm Ashley and I'm your host. Joining me again to co-host this episode is our Public Affairs Sergeant Major Randy Randolph. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Always like being here.
So SNL this last weekend, they had somebody who was on for like their 5th time and they had like a jacket and a song and everything. I can't do that for you.
Right.
But you're like our longest standing guest host. So
yeah, no,
thanks.
That's great.
Thanks for what you do.
Maybe get the green jacket, like the golf tournament.
Yeah, maybe.
Do that.
So you actually know a lot more about what we're talking about today than I do because you participated in it. So could you give us just a quick intro?
Yeah, absolutely. So today what we're talking about is we're talking about the Bataan Memorial Death March. And, it's we're going to talk a lot about what it means to do that, what the Bataan Memorial Death March really means. Yep. We're going to talk to 2 individuals who actually completed the march and, just go through that because I really think that a lot of people know this is kind of a grueling testament of kind of fortitude, right? Trying to make it that 26 miles because although a lot of people might have done traditional marathons, they might have been done traditional foot marches.
Right.
But this is a lot different, and that's what we're going to talk to our guest about today.
So before we dive into this conversation, let's do a quick history lesson. The Bataan Death March was the forcible transfer by the Imperial Japanese Army of 75,000 American and Filipino prisoners of war. The total distance of the march was 65 miles, and while exact figures are unknown, it is estimated that 5,500 to nearly 19,000 POWs lost their lives. The Bataan Memorial Death March began in 1989 and was started by the Army ROTC department at New Mexico State University. The Memorial March was to mark a page in history that included many Native sons and affected many families in the state. In 1992, White Sands Missile Range and the New Mexico National Guard joined in the sponsorship, and the event was moved to the White Sands Missile Range. Since its inception, the Bataan Memorial Death March participation has grown from about 100 to about 9,600 marchers. These marchers come from across the United States and several foreign countries. While still primarily a military event, many civilians choose to participate in the challenging march. Participants get to choose between 2 courses, a 14.2 mile and a 26.2 mile course. And so we have Sergeant Major and our guest to tell us a little bit more about their experience. So just to start, can I have each of you just introduce yourselves, your MOSs? I know you both are part of 3rd Brigade, 10th Mountain at Fort Johnson. But just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, that sort of thing.
All right. So my name is First Lieutenant Jonathan Spitznaz from Northeast Tennessee. I grew up in Johnson City, went to school at University of Tennessee. And I'm a 35 Alpha military intelligence officer, and I'm one of the intelligence officers up at the brigade headquarters.
Okay. What about you, Specialist Ward?
So I'm Specialist Preston Ward. I'm from Illinois originally. I prefer Georgia. I've been living most of my life at. I'm 11 Bravo here at Fort Johnson. I originally at Fort Benning and Fort Stewart for 4 years in total. So I like that better. I met my wife. I'm playing my week class into 68 Tango. I like animals more, but yeah, I did an event, and I'm proud I did it.
Yeah, I think y'all should be.
Absolutely.
So get us started, Sergeant Major. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, so one thing that really interests me about this entire event, and I find when I talk to a lot of soldiers, well, and civilians really, because I don't know about LT and Specialist Ward because they were really moving out, but while I go through, I like to talk to a lot of different people, and a lot of people really don't understand what this Memorial Death March means. They don't know the reason why we do it. Some do and some don't, and nothing against anybody, right? But
yeah,
just really understanding what this means to the people that lost their lives on a very gruesome and just grueling event in the history of World War II. And so one of the questions I have for LT and Specialist Ward is, did that play any part in why you did this or why you wanted to contribute to this march?
It did a bit for me until we got there. And honestly, beforehand, like I didn't really I'd heard about the Bataan Death March, but I didn't really understand the history, the true impact on like the American Armed Forces until we got there, and we went through the history of it like more in depth, and doing the march, seeing just how many people had a lot of people had on their backs like doing this in honor of, or why they were doing it, and a lot of people it was in honor of like family members who had to do the actual death march and who either perished during it or who survived that gruesome event.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. So, I mean, in the military, you guys do ruck marches.
Right.
That's part of, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's normal.
Sure.
But how is this different from your typical, marathon or ruck march, for example?
Yeah. What do you think, Specialist Ward?
So, I'm almost the same way. I didn't know any of the history until like a week before the event happened. I thought it was funny that I went to Panda the night before and said it said my fortune cookie said you'll be touched on a big event you're about to be doing. My heart will be touched, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what that meant, but during my event I seen these photos and little small paragraphs with these soldiers that have passed on this event. Like, wow, why couldn't I have done that? Like, I should have looked more into this march. I thought it was an army event, This is a normal ruck, That's what I thought at first, and I'm like, wow, these people actually made a ruck this, and they died on this ruck, or if not, they got prisoned at some camp. Like, so it made actually did touch me out. People had these photos on the back. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So definitely next time I think I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna research people, and I'm gonna pick somebody I like, and I'm gonna write like a paragraph of what I found out about them, who they were, if they had family. And I'm gonna put the photo on the book, and I'm gonna have a small paragraph below it. I'm definitely gonna do that next year. That really touched me. So I'm glad I did this event. I'm glad I found out about this. It's something I really want to look forward to, and something I want to learn more about.
Yeah, well, that's good. And considering that you're gonna do it again, which is even
right.
even very respectable. And one thing I would say, and I don't know about you, LT, and Specialist War, but when I did this, I thought it was a lot different than previous ruck marches or previous marathons I ran. And number one, the terrain I thought was way more challenging. Right? You have at one point you're going 7 miles up a mountain, like straight up, right? Oh. And there's no reprieve, so you just keep going steadily up, and then some of the sand in the dirt is ankle deep and for a long stretch. And so for me, and look, Ashley joked with me recently, is like, yeah, I'm surprised you did it because you're so old, right? But look, I'm not doing this to win, right? I'm not doing this to place first. And I remember even seeing your team at one point. I was like, hey, what's your pace? And you were like, we're trying to finish in 7 hours. I was like, all right, but then I go run ahead, and I don't know about you, but it was very hard to just pay attention because there were so many different elements. It wasn't just the sun. It wasn't just the distance. It wasn't just the terrain. It was all these different things that combined for just, what do you think about that? Like, what was your kind of thing with this and other ruck marches or marathons that you've run?
Let's see. I'd say the biggest challenge with this was definitely a mixture of the terrain as well as just the sheer volume of people for me. Like that, the first 2 miles of the race, we had to constantly be weaving in and out people. Yeah. And like my goal for the first two, like for most of the race, was to stay at the rear of the team. That way, in case someone falls back, I can be with them. I can keep count of where everyone is.
Sure.
But during the first mile or two, I was like, okay, we need to try to weave our way through this crowd, try to get to the front because these people are just going slow. So I had to change up a little bit and take the lead. That way I could kind of force my way through, because I've done very crowded races and stuff before, so I kind of knew like how to find those openings and squeeze by the people.
Sure.
it helps I'm too. So people notice when I go by them. So
Yeah.
So, you're talking about the sand.
Yeah.
And I'm not making light of this at all, but I go to the beach quite a bit. And walking through that, the very soft sand is not easy, just walking on the beach. Then you have, so I think another element that we haven't talked about is not only is this 26.2 miles, you got a ruck on your back with how much weight in it?
I mean, you only have to have 35, but I think most people ended up having more, right?
yeah, I know my ruck was weighed at the end, and this was with completely empty camelback, and mine was 45 pounds.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. So it ends up being more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to my point, it's hard walking in soft sand to begin with.
Right.
And you're talking about, miles upon miles of it uphill some. And with that extra weight on your back, that's pretty grueling.
Yeah. I would say it is. I think training for that is paramount, but you have some people, I can't remember, I think the finisher, the runner finished in like 2 hours and some
Wow.
Same.
change. Yeah, something like that. And then the first foot march, I can't remember, but again, it's like there's a difference between competing in this to come in first through like third place, or just to finish. And a lot of people will say, I talked to one guy and he was like, well, we ruck that all the time and this that there. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's great, I get it, but I just think the terrain, and like the LT was saying, weaving through everybody, I don't think there's any one element that makes it difficult. I think it's just a combination of everything that throws you off. I don't know. What did you think, you and your team, did you think you were adequately prepared, or what were some of the challenges you faced, Specialist Ward?
I'd say going into it, like at the start of the race, we thought, okay, we got this. Like, we've done long distance. We're doing it in dry heat, which is a lot nicer than the wet heat that we're used to at Fort Johnson.
Yeah.
But when we actually got to the hill, to that massive hill, mile 8 to mile 14-ish, just straight uphill, I think that's when it really hit us that this is going to be a really painful ruck.
So how did you guys prepare ahead of time, though?
We had a training schedule. We rucked on Tuesdays, and then we rucked again on Thursdays. Our Tuesday rucks were walking-ish.
Yeah.
And then Thursday we kind of did half and half jog and half walk. Three.
Yeah.
We did. It was a steady progression up to 14 miles. After 14, we went back down. We trained as a team. Each time we did it. After 14, we worked our way down to give our bodies rest before the big event.
Yeah.
So I think the train up was pretty golden. It was pretty set. I like the train up. It wasn't like boom 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 like steady. It was more of a progression than degression pace.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think if anything, for us to improve the train up would just be to start it earlier.
Yeah, we started pretty late.
Like beginning in January.
Yeah.
So you guys did this as a team, but you did it on your own. So how many were on the team? Like how did the team aspect work?
So the rules for the team are it has to be a team of no less than 5 people. Okay. And you have to finish within, I believe it was 20 seconds of each other.
Oh.
And all of you have to finish, or else your team is disqualified. So unfortunately, our team was disqualified. One of the soldiers had to drop out at mile 14, but he made it up that massive hill before having to drop out. But the rest of us finished it together and finished within 20 seconds of each other.
Nice. And so the team did the 26.2.
Yes.
Okay, and you did the 26.2.
Right.
And I know you've been training for a while.
Right.
You would talk about on Saturdays going out for like 7 hours and walking all over the place.
Yeah. But I will tell you, and I don't know if you and your team face this, it got to like one point where I was just looking up too much information, where I was like, okay, what about this? What about gels? What about energy gels? What about this? And then instead of just trusting my training and just going out there and doing it, because I went out there, even though I did the individual category, I went out with a couple different people, and then First Sergeant Jacob Connor, who we all know, who's in our MOS, he finished 38th overall, and all he did is stick to steady pace, just paying attention to his training, not trying to go too fast, sticking to the pace that he decided he was going to go to, and like where I didn't really trust my pace, I started running, and then I fell victim to that. Oh, it's such a dry heat, it's fine, I'm going to be able to do better than anything, and then just at the end of the day, I did a lot worse than I think I could have done if I kept my mind frame. Did you or your team fall victim to that mentality?
I'd say absolutely.
Yes.
We went into it. So I have experience with doing marathon ruck marches in the past. So I went into it like knowing a bit about what to expect.
Sure.
And was like, okay, if we keep a nice solid 15-minute pace, because during our training we've been keeping around like 13 and a half on our longer ruck days of doing mixture of just walking and running with our rucks on.
Yeah.
We've been keep a steady 13 and a half, 14-minute pace. But when we actually got out there, it just hit us a lot harder than I think any of us expected.
It never goes as planned.
Yep.
Where did you do the majority of your training though? Was it challenging terrain? I mean, was it terrain that would have
It was a lot easier than it was a lot easier than white sands. A lot easier.
Okay. Yeah. It's hard to replicate that.
It was about as hilly as we can make it out here at Fort Johnson in Louisiana.
Right. Sure.
There aren't really any mountains or hills to really go up, but like you don't have any 4-mile hills that are just straight up.
I was fortunate to have the infamous Area J of Fort Liberty here, so that helped me out a lot. Yeah.
Nice. So you guys did this as a team. I'm assuming that you had command support throughout your training, throughout doing this, that sort of thing?
Not really.
Kind of.
Well, that question didn't go as planned.
We have the support that they let us do the training, and like when we told our command, like every Tuesday and Thursday we won't be at like PT formations, like we'll be doing PT on our own, like showing up earlier to do these rucks and these runs. Like that's the majority of the support we got until about a week and a half before the actual march, and like Garrison Command like really hammered down to make sure that we got our travel, our dates for when we'd be going out to White Sands. And that's really when our command really started taking an interest, and like the brigade sergeant major like was coming up to me and like, hey, have you guys figured out your travel yet? Like what help from us? And
it doesn't
really
sound like
until 2 weeks prior.
It doesn't sound though like you got a lot of pushback on, the desire to do this and the desire to have this training plan in place.
Oh, not at all.
They
really wanted it.
And when you think about it, the training that you do for this and participating in this event, this 26.2 mile ruck, I mean, that's not going to hurt you as a soldier.
Yeah.
That's only going to make you better and improve your readiness overall.
Yeah. I think it builds good camaraderie, good training.
Character.
Yeah, character. Builds character. That's something some of us don't need more of. But, another thing that I thought was really interesting is, for me, it wasn't just the foot march itself and completing it. It's always some of the things you find along the way, right? While you're conducting the actual foot march or the run, some of the things that you never planned for that you see along the route, or it's like, for example, there was this one at one point, it was a lieutenant colonel, and he was talking to me, trying to be friendly, but he doesn't have any weight on his back or whatever. He's doing it military light, and he's trying to talk to me, and I'm just like, eventually I'm like, hey sir, I don't really have time to talk right now. I'm trying to finish this march like in time. You know what I mean? Or like at one point I saw a unit that was marching with a guide on, right? But they were taking the entire left side, where that's obviously the left is the passing side, right? And so people can't get around them. And so, you know, I ended up being like, hey, what are you doing? And then I saw them later and they passed me. So it was just really funny. And some of the exchanges like between the two of us. Did you guys have any situations like that, you know, along the route that were either funny, humorous, or any interesting stories that you could share?
So there was this person that I felt like a rival because he would pass me, I'll pass him, he would pass me,
Yeah.
I'll pass him. I thought that was like 4 miles he did that. Oh, he passed me.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna talk. Oh, I passed him, and then he
Yeah.
passes me.
Yeah, those
Gives
are
you
fun.
that motivation.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, it helps you because it's like, hey, I want
Yeah.
to pass that person again. Yeah.
It's like a rivalry, you know, like you want me
Yeah.
to do better.
Yeah. What about you, LT? Anything?
The main one that comes to mind is just when we got to the start of that hill, like around mile 8.5.
Yeah.
We came across a guy who was doing the marathon run, and he on his back he had a sign that said, "I'm doing this because my wife told me to." And I kind of struck up a conversation with him. He was like, "Yeah, my wife like really loves doing marathons. She loves running. I've never done a marathon before. I've only done halves, but she told me like if I don't do this, I'm sleeping on the couch for like the next month." So we like just talking a little bit. Like it was nice just to like kind of like just talk back and forth. But I think we were together for like a good mile or two before I was like, hey, I need to stay back with my team, like make sure everyone's doing good. You know, we a little bit of separation. So I was like, hey, I'll see you at the finish line.
Yeah. The people you meet, I think that makes it worth it as well. And then one thing I didn't realize, because I've never had this happen before, did you notice that when you cinched your rucksack down really, really tightly, combined with the elevation, your fingers swelled up gigantically?
Actually, that's what happened with the soldier who had to drop out, because his were just swelling like.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And like this was like completely new to all of us, and like it was getting so tight, like so swelling up so much that like his wedding band was like just too tight on his finger.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what was happening to me. My fingers were so fat. It was unbelievable. My whole hands, both my hands.
Did you
like,
have your ring on? Like,
well,
was
but
it
I
popping out?
wear a synthetic, like
Oh.
what do you call it? Like synthetic, I don't know, like
Rubber.
rubber, yeah, silicone.
Yeah.
Silicone. There you go. Silicone ring. But yeah, that was crazy because I'd never experienced that before either.
Yeah, and like all of our training, like he noticed this like around the time we started the hill, and like it was getting to him, like he was cramping too, and like I don't think any of us really noticed it aside from him, but like he was also wearing an Alice pack instead of the like military issued rucksack.
That's what I used. I used Alice pack as well. I wonder if that had anything to do with it. Maybe Alice.
So now that you guys have done this, you got one under your belt, how would you adjust your training if you were to do it again?
Yeah, good question.
Well, thank you.
It's on the sheet.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so I'd say the main thing is just trying to find better routes. That way we can get like more elevation change as well as like longer hills, because where we were training, the longest hill was maybe a quarter mile, like on the local golf course
It
here.
wasn't that high.
Yeah, no, it was a very gentle slope. But there are a couple areas like off post and around post where you can get some like good half-mile long hills that have a bit steeper incline.
Get permission to go off post for PT. Would be nice.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys could do like a team building thing, go down to the beach and just walk in the sand.
Yeah, you could do that too. Hey,
we've also talked about doing like a Norwegian ruck march for training, because Installation does those. They've started to do them more frequently. Like I think we've had a couple in the past few years I've been here.
Yeah,
they're doing that would be good.
Yeah, I think that works because with that, and for people out there that don't know, the Norwegian is you have to do 18.6 miles in about 4.5 hours. There's the time's different for age groups, but it's approximately 4.5 hours, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we did one the following weekend.
You actually did that?
Yeah,
Oh my
I did
gosh.
it 7 days. I did it 7 days later from the Bataan Death March.
Yeah,
gosh.
that's probably not the best idea though. You know what I mean?
I finished it. I got my silver.
Yeah, you got it.
He's alive.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I thought I agree. I think doing the Norwegian at least, prior to, I think that's a good point, but nothing can replicate that 7 mile. I'll tell you, if I could go back in time, and because the last time I did this, it's been about 7 years, so a lot of that stuff you forget, But I did remember
it's just
that
like
7 mile. Yeah. Of course, you forget pain, right? So that 7 miles. If you start out that foot march a lot slower when you hit, hitting that 7 miles, that's what it's all about. I think your time could significantly decrease, right? If you attack that 7 miles the right way, I think that's the trick. That 7 mile incline.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that 7 miler definitely killed a lot of us. Like almost as much as the mile straight of just that sand pit.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
That sounds terrible.
That was bad. The sand pit was bad.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like the sand pit was the most grueling part of it.
Really?
Even though the sand pit slowed me down, I liked it more because I started this event with feet pain, had feet injuries. So the sand pit was more like a cushion for me. I liked it.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
The gravel that really made me hate it. Like the gravel, on my feet are hurting because of the gravel because I'm stepping on something hard that kind of. So going into with feet pain, the sand. I like the sand.
It's like a foot massage. That's how you sell it, right? Come and get a foot massage. 26.2 miles foot massage.
There you
almost.
go.
Yeah.
So we're gonna run out of time real quick, but I do want to ask you. So how many people were on your team?
So there were 5 of us.
Okay.
We started off with
7. Benty and 7.
Yeah, we started off with 6 people on our team, having one alternate, but he had to drop out around when we did a 14-mile time trial about a month prior, and he had to drop out for family reasons, unfortunately.
Well, so
and then
sorry, I was just gonna ask. So all from the same unit?
No, all from the same installation. So there were 4 of us on the team from 3rd Brigade, 10th Mountain.
Okay.
And then we had one soldier from the hospital on base.
Okay.
And his captain actually made us some really good
nutrition bags.
Nutrition bags to help us with the race. So like gummy bears, fruit snacks, stuff like that. That, oh my gosh, they were lifesavers.
Yeah, I bet. And I guess where I was going with that is just, building the trust, working together, the cohesion to be able to get through this sort of thing. Had you and Specialist Ward ever worked together before?
No.
No.
I never knew he existed until he started.
And now you have somebody to go to.
Didn't know he was on planet Earth until the foot march started. And then you see this crazy sergeant major run up to you and ask if you'll be on this clip.
Well, and now you know somebody just as crazy as you to do these things.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah, that's really what we wanted to talk to you about. I know it was we kind of attacked you, so to speak, that morning, but we appreciate you being on because I think, again, going back to what this means and paying homage or memorializing really the fallen in that march, the actual death march. I think letting people understand what this means exactly is very important.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome that you knew that it wasn't going to be easy. You all did. You knew it wasn't going to be easy, but that didn't deter you. You still went in and 26.2 miles, ruck on your back, lots of weight, and you completed it.
Yeah,
it's pretty phenomenal. Not what it says. Less than 10,000 marchers a year. I mean, that's a small group to be grouped with. Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I appreciate being on. I always appreciate being on the cast, but What about you, gentlemen? Anything you wanna talk about before we end?
Nothing that really comes to mind for me. I mean, just that, like, the fact that it's a marathon is what makes it worth it. Like, just to be able to do even like a small percentage of the distance that the people who were forced to do the actual Bataan, like, it's a good way to honor their memories.
Yeah.
I'm excited to learn about some people, and I want to share their names. Like, not everybody knows this. Like, a regular civilian not gonna know. Like, they don't. I didn't know when I first did it. So I like the fact that I can share memory of people, of somebody else. Say, hey, this guy back then did this, and I want like people to know. People take it for granted. Like, people take this for granted. Oh, people did this for us, and yet we live our days. So I don't want to do that again. I don't want to take them for granted and then not realize this was a thing back then. People died for this. So I want to learn about this and see what they were and who they were and what they did. So I'm excited for that next year.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well,
absolutely.
Congratulations to all three of you for completing.
Thank you.
And to you both, thank you for taking the time to talk to us about your experience. It was really interesting. I didn't know about this until Sergeant Major started telling me what it was, and he was training for it. So again, congratulations. Thank you for talking with us. And that's it for this episode. We'll see you next time on the Frontline.
It was an honor, gents. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.